Okay, so welcome everybody. Day 60 of compassionate response to COVID-19, and so yesterday we had a really brilliant session with Padmapani and Dharmamati, which has gone out and had 681 views so far. In Triratna and Huddersfield. So it's fantastic, yeah. And some of the feedback was that we were just like a bunch of friends, just kind of quite relaxed. So I think this format is really good, actually. So just I'm going to do more and more of this. And Padmapani just saying to me now that because he and Dharmamati and others went on a fantastic kind of pilgrimage around Mount Kailash, the sacred mountain in Tibet. So yeah, in future sessions, maybe we could get them to talk about that. Okay, so today what we're doing is Dharmamati is going to join us later on, but Padmapani, Dharmamati, and me, we're all artists, so we're going to sort of like look at Padmapani and Dharmamati's art, and Dharmamati is going to join us in about half an hour. So I'm just going to get on with some body work, and Padma's going to get on with his meditation, and then we'll come back at 8 o'clock. We'll all join together at 8 o'clock. So see you in a bit, Padma. Okay, so I always begin these sessions with some body work. So let's begin by just rubbing our hands together. I'll just mute him in, he's in the background. Okay. So take a few deeper breaths, give your hands a squeeze. So I'm always saying about preparation for meditation, working on the body. So if we just think we can just sit down and then get into a positive mental state, a bright, energetic mental state, without actually working on our body beforehand, it's a myth. It's a myth basically. So a bit of EFT, a bit of drumming with your fingers on top of your chest, on your collar, around your collarbone. This is supposed to wake up the emotions. Help us connect with how we're feeling. Shake hands out on your feet. Give a long shake, so like the shake goes right down the arm, flings the stress off the end of the fingers, like a whip. And just give your stomach a little bit of a massage. So just slow circles on your stomach clockwise. So sometimes we need to wake ourselves up and stimulate ourselves. as we were just doing just then, and then sometimes we need to smooth our energy out, to calm ourselves, to soothe ourselves. And we need both. You know, we need to be awake and we need to be calm as well. Go round like the 4 quarters, so round your right hand side and at the top of your stomach, and then the left hand side and underneath your stomach. And then just brushing slowly down your arm, throwing the tension off the end of your fingers. So often the most powerful therapies, movements, are the subtle ones. So it's like, it's not all about being, you know, kind of being overt, and it's often about being subtle. Overt's the wrong word. I can't think of the right word. And then just put your hands over your face, and just breathing into your hands, into palms. And enjoying the feeling of your fingertips touching your skin on the top of your forehead. Give your face a bit of a massage, a bit of a wash with your hands. And then take a seat for meditation. So we're going to do the Metta Bhavana, loving kindness meditation, for about 20 minutes. So just getting used to being in this new position. Being aware of the world outside. Sound of the birds. The light on your eyelids. And connecting with how you're feeling at the moment. Just watching the gentle rising and falling of your breath, your shoulders and your abdomen as you breathe. And then taking your attention into your heart area. And just imagining that there is a really beautiful, warm, rich red glow around your heart. And that represents your care for yourself. May you be well. The Metabhavna. So we're trying to, in this meditation, to just bring front and centre a sense of care for ourselves. And we can use this image of a red glow, beautiful, rich, deep red light as representing that intention, that wish. May we be well. And if other things come into your mind that aren't like that, thoughts or distractions or doubts, not giving them any attention. Just keep coming back to this sense of warmth, of kindness towards yourself, represented by this rich, beautiful, deep red light. And moving it into the second stage of the Metta Bhavana, loving kindness meditation. And bringing to mind a good friend, somebody roughly the same age who's not sexually attracted to or romantically attracted to, just to keep it simple. Another person who's a friend. And allowing the rich, deep red glow in our heart to move outwards towards them and embrace them. May they be well. the third stage, bringing to mind a neutral person. Somebody that we see around, but we don't have a strong positive or negative response to them, they're just neutral. And allowing our warm, deep, rich red glow in our hearts to move out towards them, embracing them. May they be well. So now in the fourth stage we bring to mind somebody we have difficulties with. And allowing that warm red, deep, rich, dark red glow to move out towards them. May they be well. So we can imagine that the deep, rich red glow represents a nurturing environment. So even though we have some difficulties with this person, we still want them to be in a nurturing environment so that they can grow and develop. So now bringing to mind all four people and allowing that warm red glow to move out towards them. May they all be well. People in your local vicinity around you, in the city or town that you live in or village, in other countries, other beings that aren't human, animals, birds and fish, insects. Just allowing that glow to reach out towards them all. And in your own time, bringing your meditation to a close. Okay, morning.
Morning, evening.
Oh, sorry, evening, yeah. Yeah. I was going to say, how did you sleep? But that was a long time ago.
It was, yeah. I didn't even have an afternoon nap today.
Yeah.
Mm.
Cool. Oh, I think I've muted Padmapani. Hang on.
Have you?
Yeah, it just, yeah, for the meditation, yeah.
Oh yes, he's got a little cross through his
Can you unmute?
thing.
You're all right?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, good. Okay. Yeah, so thanks. So this is the second session with this dynamic duo here.
Oh dear.
Yeah. So the idea today is that we start off with carrying on with exploring the history of the movement. So didn't get a chance yesterday to talk to Dharmamati about the time that he was secretary to Sangharakshita. So I thought we could kind of begin with that and then move on to kind of looking at artworks and things like that, because all three of us are artists. So do you want to say a bit about your life with Bante? How many years were you doing it?
Um, I was trying to work that out. It's about 4 years, a
Yeah,
bit under 4 years, I think it was. It was between 2006 and 2010. Um,
was that a
uh,
Maji Maloka?
Margie Maloka, yes, in
Yeah,
Birmingham.
yeah. So Maji Maloka was the centre of the movement. It was the headquarters where the preceptors lived and
Sort of headquarters,
sort of thing. Yeah,
and Bhante Sangharakshita had his little flat next to the place.
yeah, yeah.
Yes, I have very fond memories of those times, particularly of Bhante. Um, I had my ups and downs during that time. I must say, I'm not the born secretary type, but
Yeah.
I did the job. It was fine. Um, I'm just trying to think what I could say. I'll give you sort of an idea of what the day might be. So I get a phone call on the dot 9:30 every morning, and Ante would say, "Good morning, Dharmamati. Anything for me?" Meaning mail. Any correspondence or anything, and then I'd say whether there was or wasn't, and then he'd say whether he needed me to go up and do to take some notes or dictation, because he was by that time he had macular degeneration, so he couldn't see himself, so everything had to be read to him, and then he would, if he wanted to respond to somebody, he'd basically read it out, and you. I mean, I'm actually a touch typist, so that helped because I could just type straight into the. I didn't have to write it down first, so I could type straight on into the computer his correspondence. Or he might, he might have some kind of thing he's writing. He might be writing some poem or a bit of work, so that you do that, and and then again in the afternoon, the same thing. So about I think it was 3 o'clock or 3:30. I can't quite remember now. He'd phone up again, and if there was anything to do. So that was the sort of daily routine. And I realised that one thing I learned about Bhante was that he was very methodical, and he incredibly. I don't think I've ever met anybody. Well, personally haven't met anybody. I'm sure there's more mindful people, but as mindful as he is, I just found him, just incredibly aware and incredibly mindful all the time. So it was quite a learning experience, that. And the reason that he managed to achieve so much in his life, in both writing and lectures, etc., was because he was just so steady with everything and completely dedicated to what he was doing. I must say that when I was with him, I really did feel like I was with a great man. There was no doubt in my mind personally that I was with a great man. His mental acuity, even in his 80s and 90s, was extraordinary. Even up to the time he died, he had his mind was as clear as a bell. The only thing I noticed towards, at times a bit of short-term memory loss, but you sort of expect that at 80 or 90. So yeah, and I did have my doubts about Bante before, at times, what I was involved in and everything, but he completely put my mind at rest when I was with him. I just found um, that just, how can I put it? When you're with somebody every day for years, you really get to know them, warts and all. And, and my esteem in Bante grew during that period, quite extraordinarily. His care and love for the movement, for individuals within it, in his correspondence, he would really listen to what the person has said. He'd always make sure that they knew that he had heard what they said, and then he would respond appropriately. And to me, that to do that day in and day out, have so many visitors. I mean, I find it hard enough having 2 or 3 visitors a week, but he used to have daily visitors. At least every day, one person a day, if not 2. And also, all that correspondence, literally thousands of letters. Sort of, and he'd respond to everybody. So it's quite extraordinary. I mean, by that time, of course, because of his illness and macular degeneration, people knew that he couldn't respond personally to every single thing. They just knew that. And so people didn't expect that. If there was something that was important, he would respond. And he'd always respond with great kindness and love, which it really impressed me.
Yeah.
Not being a secretary type, but I am a chauffeur type. I absolutely adore driving. I love driving. I know this sounds crazy, but I just love it. I love it, and particularly the longer the distance, the better. I can sit at the wheel for hours, and I get in this very concentrated state, and I really love it. A concentrated but aware state. I find a sort of heightened state of awareness while I'm driving. It's not sort of a dozy sort of driving along. I'm really aware. So at that time, Bante had been quite unwell at one point, and he was beginning to pick up again at this time. The time I became secretary, and he wanted to get out and about, and I caught him in his last wave of visiting nearly all the centres in the movement, including the ones in Europe. And so I really loved that, just driving him around, and he was, and we were good company for each other. I mean, I found him very good company. Sometimes we were very quiet. We just sat there, just enjoying the trip, or sometimes we'd chat about something. And so that was the highlight of being secretary for me, was just visiting these different centres with him and being with him on those trips. Yeah, so that's sort of it, really. I mean, there's details.
Yeah.
So I did sort of. I was a bit disappointed in myself in a sense, because I was in an ideal situation for me, spiritually, in that sense of being with Bante and being in close communication and actually developing a friendship. Because although I was ordained by him, I actually hadn't met him that much. On odd occasions I had met him, but I wouldn't have called it a friendship as such, but a friendship developed during that period. But I just, in some ways, I wish I was the type of person to be a secretary. I'm just not. It's just not my, it's not my forte. So, I just found it in the end it a bit of a strain. And so it's Vidiarucci took over from me. But I don't regret ever being with Bante, and I don't. And as I say, it was a really important time for me spiritually, and having good communication with one's teacher and friendship.
Yeah. And did he encourage you in terms of your artwork and stuff?
It was mostly his encouragement that really got it going again.
I thought it was, yeah.
Yeah, it was. It was his encouragement, and actually, I think he saved my life to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Because art has been so important to me through my life. But it's also I've been very up and down with it, and I've lacked confidence in my skills and things like that. And, And sometimes I sort of just give it away, and then but it's been there in the background all the time, and I'm always going back to it.
Yeah.
And I think some people may have seen the portrait I did of him, which was actually done while I was his secretary, or the basis of it was done. I finished it off afterwards.
Yeah.
I finished off actually when I came back to Australia and gave it to him for his 90th birthday. And it's now hanging in Adistana.
Yeah.
I think a few people might have seen that.
Yeah. Have you got an image of it?
Not accessible right now.
Yeah. Have you got a drawing of him or anything like that?
I wouldn't be able to find.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
I'm trying to think where. I know it's.
Yeah,
I think it's on my Facebook.
You put it on T Ratner Arts. There's a picture of it there. People want to have a look on the social network. Didn't you? You got a photograph of it recently put up.
Did I? I can't remember.
Well, is that a Facebook page?
Yeah. It's only about a week old, less than that.
Is that Facebook Tree Ratner
No, that
Arts?
wasn't me. No, I didn't do that.
Although there is an image that came up on T Ratner Arts of your picture of Bante anyway.
Oh, did it? Oh, right. Anyway,
Yeah.
So that's. It was only about. I'd only done by that time 2 or 3. That was about my 3rd or 4th major portrait. So I've got better since.
Yeah.
I was reasonably happy with it, and people like it. So
Yeah.
I obviously, when I look at it, I see all the faults,
Yeah.
But it's still, it gets something across about the man. I think.
Yeah.
It was very. I was very connected to him at the time when I did it, and.
Yeah.
Also, in the background, there's various books, and I consulted with him about what books to put in.
Yeah. Right. So that when we were talking about this, we talk about kind of alternating. So shall we move on to Padmapani now, and then we'll come back and do onto your drawings and stuff. So
yeah, no problem.
So Padma, are you going to show us some of your?
Yeah. Well, basically, before I got involved in doing these tankas for Butterfield 3 or 4 years ago, where I've been working on it all the time, since I've been doing that, I haven't been doing any painting, and the painting I was doing before was what will come under the general umbrella of marine art, or sea landscape, which would include boats, ships, shores, because I'm really fascinated by the sea. And that's interesting, actually, because my mythical connection with the Nagas in Butterfield, who represent the kind of water element. I've got a few illustrations. Now, these have been banded around a bit because I think I actually showed them on the convention 2 or 3 years ago. They have an art gallery at Wyndham, now I'll have to switch this over. So this is I've got 4 to show you. They're all marine ones. I think Dharmamati is very familiar with all of them. But if I turn this round, hang on, where's the, there we are. Okay, so this one is when I was actually working, live, so to speak. This is at Shoreham, and it's quite a hot day. In fact, there's an impending thunderstorm coming up, so it's quite warm and clammy. And this is by the this is in the harbour area of Shoreham. It's got a harbour area. One area goes to where the big boats come out. You can see one boat here, which is a dredger, the Chichester, which is a boat going out the harbour from the inner section. And I was painting, and this boat came along, and I really wanted to get it in, so I had to take a photograph of it because it was moving quite fast, as you can probably see in the picture here. I finished it off in the studio, but I was actually working on it, and you can see, going into a bit more detail here, that it was a hot day, and I was going contre jour, or into the sun, because you can see it's quite dark here, that the light was like polarizing a bit on my eye and creating quite a dark area. But I was trying to convey the harbour, and of course nearer the shoreline there was a bit of sand and pebble, and the sea was reflecting the pebble and the sand below, mainly pebble. But that gives you an idea of what I was doing a few years ago, and I'd like to go back to it and have a bit of a break after I finish off next month this Padmapani and Dharmamati, because I do want to get back into some painting other than tanka. Yeah. So there's that one. Is that okay? Can I?
Yeah.
Now these are very conventional ones, but I was.
You're frozen.
I'm not one of the modern people and have that slogan, let's paint this town full of artists, which to me, I'm a little bit critical of that, because a lot of imagery that I see now with people doing stuff is like what I call craft work.
Yeah. Keep moving along, come on.
Yeah, so this is
Stop waffling. Don't be shy about your work.
This is an autumn shot. Okay.
Yeah.
I missed all that. Sorry,
you missed the joke.
Yeah. This is an autumn shot at Shoreham again.
Yeah.
With a boat coming into the harbour there. And that was I did the sky on the spot.
Nice sky, yeah.
Another one here, which is one of my favourite ones, is a tug in dry dock. And you can see down here these guys working on it. And I was working on the sketch and painting there, and I did take some photographs, and I'm very pleased I did, because I went back to the next day to do it, and the dock would fill up with water. I mean, they got the painting done, these two guys, and I'm really pleased that I had the photographs to finish off the bit, because but I got the main framework and the structure in there.
So were you painting down there then, or? Yeah,
actually, it was very industrial place. I love industrial places. I don't know why. I just love the busyness of guys working, in steel yards and working away, in a business-like way. I mean, I find it very kind of revitalising,
Yeah. Well, I love it in Newlyn, near Penzance. It's a fishing port. It's really industrial. It's fantastic, Yeah.
I went to a bit of this one took me about a week. It's about, I don't know, I'm useless on measurement. It's about a metre and a half or something, a metre and a quarter square.
Yeah.
And this is exactly the same size. This is also Shoreham. It's one of my favourite spots to go. This is the yacht club in Shoreham. This guy was going to go round
Oh,
You're frozen again.
He
he's
pulled out.
frozen
We
again.
got quite into quite friendly banter with that. Yeah. So these two are a bit like a pair. Yeah, they work well together. I've got them framed. I haven't really pushed my artwork. I'm going to turn back. I haven't really pushed my artwork. I'm absolutely totally useless when it comes to trying to sell myself or anything like that. So I just done it. And then we'll go back to another conversation. Basically, this is all in the background of, without giving the location too much, but basically a buyer, quite a senior order member, very respected order member, Dharmamati and I, we formed a chapter which were just artists, and also Padmapani joined us as well, who's also a very good artist. And we used to meet every week, and although it was a spiritual chapter, there was an emphasis on painting and on the more the spiritual aspect of painting as well. So all sorts of aspects. Maybe Dharmamati can say something about as well. But it's very nourishing. It was a real pity actually, Dharmamati, to go to Australia, but actually, in fact, in these times, it makes no difference because we're all zooming each other now. So it feels like you might as well be back, locally where we are. So that's been very interesting. This chapter's been going quite a few years now. We didn't want the chapter to get too big, so it's all been quite intimate. We've all gone through all different periods of working with very big chapters, but having a small chapter, an art chapter, has been really great.
Yeah.
I do highly recommend it.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's my marine art. Basically, I went to Medway Art College a long time ago in the early 60s. And I was actually going to go to they did actually want me to go to the Royal College, but it was very weird. It was a very strange time. Yeah, okay. It was a very strange time, just very briefly, while waiting for Dharma to come back, probably in the toilet. Because in those days, if you were at school or something, you were sent to the art college and you carried on with your education there. And I was doing my GCEs, but then, unfortunately, they brought this new syllabus in. They dropped the diploma of art into a pre-diploma of art. You had to have already your A levels and your GCEs. So I didn't have those. And unfortunately, I couldn't go on to the Royal College. So boom, bingo.
Yeah.
So I went into graphic design and made my living for a bit like that for a while.
What year would that have been when you went to college?
Oh my God, that would have been about, when I finished art college, it would have been about 64.
Was that when Hockney was at the Royal College?
Sorry?
When was Hockney at the Royal College?
I don't know. I can't remember. I look
anyway.
it up. But basically, what I mean is, it was in the days. I don't even remember. It was Temperance 7, but it was an amazing time because during this art college phase, there were these parties. I mean, it was very interesting at art college. It was cool to be in the early days, around about 1960. It was cool to be bohemian. Yeah, bohemian. And so we're all listening to really interesting jazz, and I've had a bit of revival in jazz, like Thelonious Monk, Mon Jazz Quartet, Cannibal Adderley, people like that. And then it switched, with the electric guitar coming into England, the Shadows, Cliff Richards, followed by eventually the Stones, the Beatles, all this stuff, with these amazing parties. And I kind of met the Rolling Stones and the Downliner Sect and all these people, and they're all very artistic people as well, very, very interesting. In fact, I even went out with Mick Jagger's girlfriend for about a week or two. He just finished He went on to the London School of Economics. But I remember having a chat with Brian Jones. Very interesting. He was seemed to be a very sensitive man, actually. Anyway, I'm digressing because the whole thing was the art college thing was. It was very good to have that kind of basis of structure, and I put me in good stead later on. I went on to do other things, but let's go back to the general forum because we want to get into showing art, don't we?
Well, it doesn't matter you mentioning Mick Jagger. It's quite interesting, Padmapani.
Well, the other thing is, I mean, there were so many weird things there. I mean, I was sitting in, this was in Rochester, in the Medway towns. It was then never the Medway town. I was sitting there minding my own business at a place called Andy Snacks, having double eggs, chips and beans. And I used to eat incredible amounts of food in those days. Anyway, apparently I had this woolly jumper on, which was like a wasp shape. It was like black and white stripe. Now, little known to me, I had no idea that next door at a big cinema, it had been converted, and Fleetwood Mac, Peter Green and Fleetwood Mac were playing there that evening. I had no idea. I was playing Scrabble and going down to Andy Snacks to eat. I was in the middle of a furious Scrabble tournament, and I went down to have these egg and chips, and suddenly there was this noise, and I looked up at the door, and there were literally hundreds of women pressed against the glass, screaming at me. And I thought, right, what's going on? Then they came in. They were like going to rip me apart. And the people in the thing saw the danger I was in. They took me out the back through the area up to the steps, and I escaped out the back. But apparently, I found out later that apparently I looked very much like Peter Green of the Fleetwood Mac in those days. And my hair was more or less the same. And I had apparently the same jumper on that he was wearing that evening on the stage. So maybe a few of these women got a glimpse of that and thought, well, he'd gone next door to eat. All these kind of strange events that happen in your life. But I mean, it was all part of my bohemian backdrop, and it was very, very nice experience.
Yeah.
Okay, I was digressing a bit.
Thanks, Padmapani.
The digressions are good.
Yeah.
But they're very interesting. And then, interesting enough, as I pointed out yesterday, I went on to do not an awful lot of stuff. I got a bit stuck. My art stuff dropped away. I could talk about that another time in my life history, but it got revived again. Like as I said yesterday, with Banty wanting this mural at the LBC, the Windhorse, the one that I showed yesterday, and that all set up a whole sort of spate of events other than the Glasgow Sound Centre. I went on to paint. I started getting into Trump law painting it, and Coppola, who's Banty's secretary. At Pamaloka, he put me in touch with this guy called Roger, who was the hotel owner at just outside Norwich, and he owned this enormous big hotel, and he was very, very keen on painting the whole thing up in Trump law. So I was there literally for a year and a half. I used to go back occasionally back down south to London where I was living. But I was ensconced in this hotel, and I got all free food. I didn't get much money, but I was working on this idea, and that was very interesting because working on a very big scale is what I like doing, and I think that put me in good stead for doing these tankers. And I'd like to even paint, or even do bigger tankers, really, if I could. And there might be the opportunity, I'll tell you a bit about that later on, there's going to be the opportunity, I think, of doing a bigger tanker because Tom Barnes at Butterfield, this is before the trouble happened with coronavirus, he wanted, because of our success at the Butterfield Festival with pulling people into doing the pujas and the meditation tent, he wants to get us a new tent, which in fact he's shown me photographs of. It's much bigger, and therefore this format size of the present tankers is too small, for people, with the size of the tent. So I'm hoping that I might raise my game, so to speak, and do larger tankers. I'm trying to balance this out with my own artwork as well, so we have to see how it all plays out. But anyway, I just thought I'd put that in the mix.
So you've done murals, haven't you? You've done indoor murals and outdoor murals and stuff. So I'll just chuck this in. So this is something we have in common. So I did a mural in 1975, and it got into a book. Painting the town, and it's 2 stories high.
Well, that's very good.
In the middle of Manchester University, so there you go.
Wow. Yeah, I was going to actually do some more murals around East London. Some people approached me about doing other murals, but I got into this very strange experience, and as artists you might find this rather interesting, of committees, where the money was coming from grants from somewhere, and you had to have committees. And this was very interesting, these committees, but committees included people from the neighbourhood, and they had to have a say, fair enough, in what you were going to do. And I pulled out of it because your image or your ideas were so diluted by what they wanted that I just decided to pull out, because I was just going to be painting something very arbitrary, of something rather mundane for people, and I thought, well, I don't think I'll bother, so I pulled out. I don't know if you've had that experience.
Padmapani, can you remember the year you were doing that Trompe L'Oeil in the pub in Norfolk?
It was a big hotel, actually.
It was a hotel. No, I visited you there, so that's because I'm trying to locate the times that we
it was called Caister Hall Hotel, not connected with Caister-on-Sea, which is in Norfolk. So it was. Oh, let me just think. I think it was about 87, 88,
right,
89, 87, 88, 89, something like that. Because I went on to do other parts in the hotel as well, not just the main ballroom, where I did a big, I haven't got a picture of it, a big picture of, it was like Greek temples, Roman temples set against the background. And in the top of it, where the RSJ was going over the beam in the ballroom, I put Ars Longa Vita Brevis, so the art lives longer than life. And I did this big stone sculpture painted in Trompe L'Oeil with a triptych. Sorry, not triptych. What they call a recession in stone with the statue in the middle. And and the owner, Roger, he really liked it, so he let me carry on. I went, and of course the interesting thing is in Trompe L'Oeil, I don't know if you know, it's a certain discipline. Basically, what it is, you're painting a 3-dimensional picture on a 2-dimensional surface. So you really need to be big, And the further away you are, the more the 3-dimensional areas can come about, can look more real. This is why in Italy, while Trompe L'Oeil's done on the ceilings of chapels and cathedrals and art galleries and places of civic importance, is because they're so far away from the person, they can create a vault feeding lead even to heaven. So the same thing you get at the Sistine Chapel, But the test of it, the test of Trompe L'Oeil is actually whether somebody thinks it's good enough that it will go up and touch it. And that happened to me once, where somebody went up to touch the ivy, and of course it was just a flat wall, but it was a curved surface I painted, with the ivy going up a column. And I recorded it, but unfortunately I lost the photograph with that moment when it happened. And then the other thing is in the little art circles, I don't know if you've ever done this, but artists, I've noticed trawling through some trompe l'oeil books, artists, I did this as well. Artists you never write your signature on trompe l'oeil, but you might have an image you do, like a mouse crawling across the stonework, or a spider or an ant or something, and that'll be your signature, you know.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating world, and of course, it's a bit of an art that was very popular in the 70s and the 80s, and it's kind of disappeared. And I ended up doing quite a lot, at least 4 or 5 quite large trompe l'oeil in very expensive houses in London. I decided to go kind of self-employed and put myself and work with interior designers. And that was absolutely, totally bizarre. I mean, I remember one day you had to actually pretend that you had loads of money. So I hired out a suit, a Savoy Rose suit. No, really top notch. You know, they on loan. You have to pay for it. And a big Jag, a brand new Jag, which I hired out for half a day. It cost me an absolute fortune. And I got all my portfolio together, and I rolled up, and it made a big kind of show of it in front of the car. Got out with this Armani suit, sorry, not Savoy, Armani suit, you know, with my Jag. Got in there, and I had to go back. Of course, I drove the car back to the show, or whatever it was. But I got the job.
Right.
I got the job because he must be successful. I mean, look what he's wearing. Look what he's got. Well, as Professor Dharmamati used to say in Montana, used to say, you are what you drive in America. It's, the same goes the same in England. Anyway, but it was so weird. That particular job, it's a lovely little snippet here, I like to say. That particular job, I was painting these Ming Dynasty vases on the wall. I mean, it was quite a nice little job. And she wanted this against a lovely wall, a yellow wall. And she came up one evening, she said, "Oh, David, I'm having a dinner party tonight. Could you paint the shadows out?" And I said, "Oh yeah, and do you want me in the morning to unpaint the shadows out and then come back every week for I don't know how long you're going to be living here, putting the shadows in?" She completely forgot it was trompe l'oeil. And there was a big row that ensued, and basically she realised the mistake she did, even though she signed for me to do the job. So she had to pay me in full when I left, but she didn't get what she wanted, you know, which is dinner parties showing trompe l'oeil, but she didn't want the shadow to be fixed in a particular position. Anyway, the weird, wacky world of trompe l'oeil.
Yeah.
That's, yeah.
Thanks, Padmapani. Shall we move on to Dharmamati's drawings and stuff?
Paintings.
Paintings, yeah.
We've already mentioned. I'll start with the fact that Abaya is in our chapter, and I did a portrait of him, and I've got it here. So this is Abaya.
Yes, lovely.
That's one I did about 5 years ago, I think. Yeah, so I keep that, and he keeps an eye on me.
Yeah.
I keep that in my bedroom. So
I'm just.
I'll just turn the. I have to go for a walk to go to the studio.
Yeah.
I'm also walking down my other route.
We're all in motion here. This is real life.
Do you know how do I get it to turn the camera? Oh, here we go. Turn the camera around. This is my shrine. I'm in my shrine room.
Yeah.
That's the shrine.
Oh, lovely. Ah, the eternal knot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bit like a gompa. And go And down here. And lights on. And, frozen. Oops.
No, it's all right.
So this was the one of Padmapani.
All right.
Ah.
That's, that was from our road trip.
2016.
Yes, so that was from our road trip, and that was on the Great Ocean Road in Australia, in a rainforest.
Wow.
And there's a few portraits here.
Wow. Well, go a bit steady. They're good.
This is actually a copy of a Rembrandt. It's just a master copy, just to study it.
Yeah.
These are from life.
Wow.
That one's they're both from life, and so is this one from life. And that one wasn't. That was in Brighton. That one. And then this is my studio.
Fantastic studio.
Yeah.
And this is one I'm working on at the moment, which is just charcoal there's this weekly thing, Portrait Artist of the Week, and so it's got me really motivated. So I'm doing all these sort of quick portraits, and this was one of them there as well. That was in pastel. And then the week before was this one, which was Rankin, a guy called Rankin, and I did what I call a quadtic. So it's like, like a triptych. This is all four done in one. I did them all at the same time. And that's Bernard.
Oh, it's got frozen, I think. Oh.
Mm.
And I've got these, a minor detail, but basically because this room doesn't have a lot of light, I've got these daylight lamps, which really help increase the light in here.
Looks like a proper studio.
Yeah, it's a proper studio. Yeah, so that's it really. Oh, and that's actually it's local. I did that down
nice.
by the beach. That's where.
Oh wow!
That's where
Fantastic.
I live.
Right, yeah.
Wow. So how far from the beach are you then?
About 10 minutes walk.
Wow. Is it? Where is it? Sawtell or something? Where is that?
Sawtell. It's about 10 kilometres south of Coffs Harbour. It's about halfway between Brisbane and Sydney.
Right.
It's a shame it's dark now. I'd show you the hills and things outside, but I can't see them. It's dark.
Well, thanks. That was great.
Very no, I think you went a bit too far, so I'd like to have gone into a bit more because they were very interesting.
Do you want to have a quick look or a slightly longer? Which one do you want to have a slightly longer look at?
I think you underestimated what people would be very interested in this. Not so much the one of me, but there's some of the other ones of. Those ones there.
That one with the green green.
Yeah.
Oh, that actually was one of my very first portraits. That one.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Can you just keep it on there? I'm just trying to get a better look at it.
I did that.
Just hold it there.
10 years ago. I keep that as a reminder.
Yeah. Is that oil?
Yeah, they're all oil. I only work in oil, pastel, or drawing with
right.
Yeah.
I like that one a lot.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
And this was, I mean, there are loads more sort of stuffed in a box, but there's another one.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
That was done from life as well.
I've yet to do portrait. I'd be interested to get into it, wouldn't it? I'm scared of using oil.
Is that enough now?
Yeah.
Is that, yeah? Okay.
The guy
just to tell you why I decided on portraiture.
Yeah.
Let's try and get back. I decided on portraiture because I love the fact that every human face is different.
Right.
And it could quite possibly be the most difficult form of art you could engage in.
Yeah, I can believe that.
Well, I find it so. I mean, so there are some people who are naturally, I mean, it's taken a lot of hard work to be able to even first get it. I remember it was about 15 years ago, I think it was. It would be about 15 years ago. I did a drawing, and it was the first drawing I got a likeness of somebody in, and I just suddenly it looked like them. And I got so excited that after doing all these stick figures for years, suddenly this little drawing was
breakthrough.
Like a person.
Yeah.
And it's a breakthrough. Yeah. So I think but it's not just about likeness.
Yes.
There's also like I don't like working just from photographs. I find it very, very difficult because you lose the animation of the person. Almost watching a video of somebody is better than a still photo. Because there's something about being with somebody that you get to know their depth. And there's a communication going on.
Yeah.
And it was like I'll just give a little story about that Rembrandt copy I did. It's actually Rembrandt's mistress. After his wife died, he took a mistress. And you could actually, when you look at that photo, it's almost the vibration of love in the brush strokes. You can almost feel it emitting out of, if you sit long enough with it. I sometimes spend hours in front of one painting, just looking at it. And I was sitting in front of that, and I just saw the love that this man had for this woman. And tears started to roll down my eyes, just seeing this. And because he obviously, he loved this woman, and you could just feel, and there's a slight melancholy edge to it as well. And it just really, I was so moved by that, so I just used that as what they call a master copy, which is, to learn. You learn about these things by doing it. You learn about the masters. Copying them. Yeah.
Doing a copy of a master.
It's a very, very good way of learning about how they worked. How they worked.
One of the exercises we had when I was at art college was our art tutor would say, "We want you to do a painting from a masterpiece. Choose your own artist." And I did mine of Turner's The Fighting Tamaria. That boat, the tugboat pulling the old French warship into, in up the Thames or something to go for scrap, the scrap heap. And I must admit, I found it an incredibly useful exercise. It was wonderful.
Yeah, it was very useful.
Yeah.
Anyway. I mean, one of my favourite places on the planet is the National Portrait Gallery, and I miss going up there. I used to go up there a lot and just with my sketchbook and just sketch the portraits. As you observe it, as I say, you just get to know how they use their materials, and even you begin to see the mistakes they made. You know, you begin to actually see mistakes, and once you start beginning to see mistakes in great masters, then I think something is happening. No, if I could get anywhere close to any of them, I'd be happy. But it's
very nice.
Yeah. Thanks, Dan. That's really great. I mean, I think you just really kind of sketched out your views of what it is to be an artist. Really, you know. I think for me, it's like you're really looking for, you know, the life in something, and you know, the spirit in it and stuff. Shall we move?
I can't leave it alone.
No, it's compulsion.
It's compulsion.
Although sometimes the juice runs out. Sometimes you can get a state of art funk.
Well, no, that's what's happened. I've been in artist block for 2 years now.
Yeah.
And this this portrait artist of the week has really got me motivated, and I'm realising a few things. And I remember when I was more prolific a few years ago, I'd have more than one thing on the go at the same time. And that's what I'm realising. So I have to actually have more than one painting on the go, otherwise I get bogged down. So I actually I've actually got 3 on the go at the moment, and I move from one to the other. And that actually keeps me motivated, so I don't get bogged down on one of them. When I'm working, I actually work quite fast when I'm going, but I reach a point where suddenly I lose energy for that particular one. So it's great having one to just move on to, and then you come back to it, and you can actually come back to it with fresh eyes, and you can see. So that's I've been. You know, you think I've been doing this long enough to learn these things, but you have to learn them again and again. You know?
So, shall we move on to Padma's Butterfield tankers? So, do you want to get going on that?
As you probably noticed, I've moved my location. I'm in a bigger room, and the reason for that would be very obvious when I show you in a minute, because this is a familiar sight to a lot of people when they come to the shrine, always on the first event. This is come now quite popular Life of the Buddha tanker, which is a tanker I actually bought in Nepal probably about 10 years ago now, about 10 years ago, and I've been using it for Buddhafield retreats and the festival, and it's the starting point. It's the main event at the shrine. People see us when they come. It's the focal point for our events. But it became obvious after a few years of doing this that not that people got fed up with it, but if they wanted to do a puja, if they wanted to do a puja to say, you know, the Darkinis or whatever it was, there wasn't a particular image. There was just still the life of the Buddha, which is fine, but it would have been better. So I came up with this idea of getting a bit of canvas the same size as the life of the Buddha, the one we just seen, cut it out, and then I pin it on the border section with a drawing pin the same colour as the cloth. You know, in the case of the Darkinis, it's got a red border, and I use red things. It doesn't really do that much damage because it goes onto the brocade cloth. It's just a pin, so it doesn't damage the imagery below. And you can just pin them up very quickly in just a matter of about 5 minutes with the help of one other person or 2 other people, and take it down again. So you can come back to the same image as Life of the Buddha in the morning, or keep it up and then change another one. So I developed this series of, it's becoming a series of tankers, and I'm on the 3rd one. So I was saying yesterday, there's been a kind of slightly evolution in my my way that I'm going about this. So I'm going to start with the first one. I'm going to have to put this down and manipulate the Padmasambhava tanka, the first one that I did for Buddhafield, onto this Life of the Buddha. It's not meant to be. It's just that I can't pin this up on the. So I'm just going to be staring at the ceiling for about a minute. Well,
It's all right. Don't worry.
What's he doing?
so I can still talk from a distance. Yeah. So
Carry on.
Carry on.
Where's he gone?
Yeah. So this book was. I went to Mount Kailash with. Can you hear me?
Yep.
I went to Mount Kailash with Mount Beeson, who runs the healing field, and Dharmamati, our puja expert.
Yeah.
And well, it's folding up at the sides here. And I had this idea of doing Padmasambhava, dancing Padmasambhava for Buddhafield. Oh, hang on. I'm unpressing that. It's going back to that. Oh.
Surreal.
A bit of palm reading.
But yeah, you're going to have a very long
Palm
life.
reading class.
I don't know why it's doing that.
I hope you know that that's what you tuned into, a palm reading.
Go down.
Oh, great prosperity is coming your way.
There we are. Okay. So this was the first one I did. So this is about 3 years ago, and here you can you can see Mount Kailash in the moonlight. But
It's a sacred mountain, isn't it, in Tibet?
and then here, this was the mountain here on this side, where Milarepa had a battle over the mountain, Mount Kailash, who was the owner of it, or something like that, and with a Bon priest. And do you remember he flew up on a rainbow and got to the top of the mountain before the Bon priest managed to get there, and he won the debate or whatever, the contest. So I decided to put this in because it reminds me of my period there. And here we have, so I've got a jackdaw or something shouting down the chimney here. That strange noise. Here you can see Ratchatal. This is the Lake of the Demons here. And here you've got Manaswara Lake, the Lake of Light, or the Lake of the Buddhas. And this is often referred to, I think, in the Ratnaguna Samjaya as the Rose Apple Island. But I wanted to do a dancing aspect of Padmasambhava because it reminded me of the joy in Buddhafield. So I wanted a dancing figure with the Damaru and the holding out his arm with a skull cap with ambrosia in it. So quite a simple design, and then this kind of flaming halo. But you could see the immediate problem I've got. Look, left and right, there are these vast areas of nothing really. so space really, which is fine in itself. But it's like it's the format that the original tanker came in, which actually works very well with the tents that we actually have at the moment. You know, like the tent that we get, the bender as it's called, which Jacob puts up every year for the festival. It fits in very well with the shape of that tent, and it works very well with the Parthenon tents that we have, say, for the retreats that we do, like the village retreat at Frog Mill and the total immersion retreats that we have at on the land at Easterbrook where we hire it out.
Yeah.
So that was the problem with there. So the next one was the Darkinis. So I'm just going to put that one on top. Because the Darkini Pugios are very popular at Butterfield. Very, very popular. So I decided I wanted to do a Darkini. The maximum I can do is not that high, you see, because it's just not very high. It's very long, but not very high. So I decided to do the white Darkini, or Magic Labdron, who was a human being who developed the chirp practice. Actually, in fact, it's also connected with Padmapani. Here we are. Sorry. So with this one here, this was the one I completed last year, and that took 2 years. I was doing a lot of Butterfield events. So the central figure of Magic Labdron, the naked Darkini status, I suppose. Well, semi-Rothel Dark.
Do you want to say a bit about what a Darkini is, Padma?
Which is gold, of course. They're gold. So this one's Kurukula, a very favourite of Karmasila, actually, Kurukula. And the other one is Vajrayogini. And that works well because you've got this problem with the same problem, but I've flanked
bandwidth problem.
Say that again, Padma.
So that, yeah.
Say that again. We lost you for a minute.
Yeah, we lost you.
Oh, I see. So here I decided, because of the space left and right of the central white Darkini, Magic Labdron, I put 2 flanking solar, semi-Rothel Darkinis, Kurukula and Vajrayogini, and to balance that out, you see. So that works well. This is the kind of technical problems of getting around this shape. Okay, so now I'm going to show you, and this is an exclusive, I think, the finished drawing, because I'm going to go public with the finished tanka next month. So I don't want to show you the whole tanka of Pranya Pramita and the Nagas at the moment, but I'm going to show you a bit of it because I want to go into more detail. So what I'm going to do now is show you the drawing, the finished drawing of the Pranya Pramita, which will give you the basic design. I'm going to have to use both hands to get this drawing down, okay? So I'm going to show you the drawing, then I'm going to go upstairs to the studio and just show you part of the finished tanka, well, the nearly finished tanka. And then that'll be the end of that presentation, okay? So you just bear with me. I'll just get this drawing down and put that over the Life of the Buddha, okay? So there's a bit more of a crinkly sound. This is paper. Oh my God. In fact, it's so big. I've had to join all the paper together with masking tape or sellotape. So it's a bit gangly. You know what I mean? So Right. Okay, so
Keep going.
I've just realised something. Oh my gosh, this is quite interesting. I've just realised something. That this tanker is slightly smaller than the actual tanker, and yet it's the same measurements. I have to work it out. Don't worry.
Yeah.
And I've already finished the tanker, so.
Show us the image a bit more. You're a bit off centre.
Yeah, I can't just show us the middle bit.
Yeah.
Bit of a shot. It's just slightly smaller.
Yeah.
And I hadn't realised what I've done. Oh, I know what I've done. I've included the border on this tanker to be the inside, so it is slightly smaller.
Yeah. Well, it just shows the image, Padma. Don't get obsessed with the other stuff.
It doesn't matter.
Don't matter for
Anyway,
this purpose.
Nobody notices, only you.
Yeah.
This is going to go.
Wow. So that's the Naga. So say more about the Naga.
Matter. With the images, what's important.
Yeah. Stop obsessing.
Yeah.
So tell us about Nagas.
Yeah. Sorry.
Tell us about the Nagas, not the size of the canvas.
Oh yeah, it's going to make a difference later on, but yeah.
All right.
Okay. So, what do you want to know about it?
Well, tell us about the image. You know, the Nagas. What are the Nagas?
What are Nagas? We want to know what Dakinis are and Nagas. What are they?
Yeah.
Oh, you're asking the wrong guy here. I'm not an expert.
All right. You just
Well,
make them, mate.
Actually, there's very little known about Nagas, unlike Dakini imagery, and it's a very interesting area. This, hang on, let's go back to me. It's a very interesting area. This. Okay, I can give you the kind of framework, and this might be very interesting. I had a chat with Bounty. I had a big nervous breakdown, a big breakdown around about 1990. And yeah, I mean, it was a major experience. And during this period, I contacted through Manju Priya, is it? No, Manju. The guy that did The Wolf at the Door with
Manjusra.
Manjusra introduced me when I had my breakdown to Robert Bly. Robert Bly introduced me to the famous archetypal psychologist Jamie Hillman, and he was interested in my particular case. But what was very interesting is Hillman, because I had an audience with him, Hillman said that a lot of these Greek gods, because this all came originally from an experience of having a kind of Apollonian experience. A lot of these Greek gods have their nemesis in the human psyche. Of Apollo could be Dionysus, for instance, as an example. But within the context of what we're talking about here, the Nagas, what you have is a very, very interesting and kind of slightly esoteric and secret area of knowledge holding forces represented by archetypes. Now, you have this in the upward inspirational force of the Dakini, but you also have it in the Platonic forces of the Nagas, and both of these hold knowledge. They're knowledge holding. In the case of the Nagas, knowledge holding.
Beware of your audience a bit, you know, Padma, because this might be going way over people's heads.
Very, 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 very deep stuff. In the case of the Nagas, they represent the depths as opposed to the heights.
Yeah.
And this is why, interesting enough, I believe the Buddha gave the teachings to God of the Prajnaparamita, the Heart Sutra, because they're very deep, very esoteric and very secret teachings, and they're the flowering of the Mahayana. So the Nagas represent an aspect that you can't possibly approach perfection of wisdom without traversing what in modern psychology we call the unconscious.
Yeah.
Which brings me to the point of what I was saying earlier on. Unless you are a very advanced person, a way, and I'm not recommending this, by the way, a way that you will get the Nagas interested will be have a kind of a collapse of the normal ego consciousness. Now, I was very interested in this when I went to see Bounty about this, because we talked about this point. And very briefly, I was saying that the vertical dimension of integration is very interesting. And Bounty said, yes. I said, the horizontal one is just one's relationship with one's ego with, in this case, other members of the Sangha. And Bounty said, yeah. But I said, what happens in the vertical dimension instead of going up? You go down. I said, you get a disillusionment of your sense of who you are in relationship with the the horizontal dimension. And Banti totally agreed with me there, and I'm being very accurate what I've said there. So this disintegration can lead, and it did in my case, to the Nagas becoming interested in me, because my sense of boundaries, more or less evaporated. It was a very dangerous situation. So I don't recommend it, but it was very interesting. And then I had various experiences which would take up too much time here. Maybe another.
Yeah. So to kind of, I'll just try and summarise a little bit what you've been saying, for the benefit of the audience, So basically,
the Nagas represent an aspect of knowledge holding and connected with depths.
Yeah, so they're like water serpents, aren't they? Something like that,
They're water serpents.
They're in the depths of the ocean.
They're a little bit like dragons. They hold the knowledge.
Yeah.
And you've probably heard Padmasambhava having trouble with the Nagas. For instance, as an example, when Padmasambhava goes to Tibet with an invitation to the king, Tritsum Detsen, he takes his time and he visits the high places and the passes where the demons are, and he subjugates them with his purba and gets them to get on their side. No, he doesn't kill them, he subjugates them.
Yeah.
And basically, but you also hear, when it comes to the Naga kings and things like that, Padmasambhava just goes down to the lake side, the water side, or a lake, a large area where a Naga is, maybe a great lake like Manaswara Lake in Tibet, where I went with Dhiramati. And there, where the Naga kings are, you get Padmasambhava sitting down by the lake doing deep meditation for a long time, maybe a week, maybe longer. And then the Naga king doesn't come up. It's a Naga princess, more or less saying, well, what do you want? And he says, well, I want to see the Naga king. And then he has to wait a few days. And when the Naga king comes up, he brings gold. Now, this is very interesting. The gold is symbolic of the underworld. It's like, the underworld in Greek mythology, because Pluto, example, the god of the underworld, Zeus's own brother, he represented great treasure. He had great treasure and gold mines in the underworld. It even came up in one of the Doors music, But Jim Morrison talking about the, gold in the underworld. So this underworld and the gold is equivalent to the gold that's in the unconscious. So what you have is a very interesting symbolism connected with mining and going into yourself, going into the depths of yourself, where the Nagas are. And of course, the forces of inspiration in that respect are also connected with the Dakinis. but they're more connected with the upward aspiring areas where you can work with the conscious mind. The Nagas, a little bit more difficult.
Yeah. So these are archetypal figures who kind of, in a way, represent just kind of processes that we can get into. So that's really interesting, that Padmasambhava meditating by the lake. And it's like, you could see that as like him waiting for something to happen in his meditation. It sounds like his meditation is saying, no, you got to wait longer, you know. So it's like, we're not in charge of things. It's more like reality's more in charge of things, you know. Is it something like that?
Yes. And in the case of the Nagas particularly, they can't be subdued in the same way as demons.
No.
And the reason for that is, from what I understand, is the Nagas represent almost going back in time to the beginning of the dawn of life on Earth. You know, it's in the waters. They represent very ancient. Snakes represent a very ancient form of they're pre-dinosaur in a way. It's to do with the very depths of the mystery of the universe.
Well, you get that in Australian mythology, don't you, with the great snake comes on land or something.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And how can you say a bit more about that?
It's the dreaming, and then there's the rainbow serpent.
Yeah.
And that's a symbol of the land, and the interesting thing is that the whole land is sacred.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, us Westerners don't treat it like that. And that the land is dreaming us.
Yeah.
We're not dreaming the land.
Yeah.
The exact opposite. It's the other way round to how we see things.
Yeah.
So that we're actually we're part of the dreaming of the earth. So we're if you like, the sort of planet has the consciousness, and we're emerging. We're a dream of the planet.
Yeah.
And that here we are.
Yeah.
Which is it's an interesting way around of seeing things.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of saying a little bit that we're more like deluded than the Earth is, or something.
Well, that's probably right, you know, because, and that's the interesting thing about the Nagas, is that they're in the depths, and they contain the treasure of consciousness and understanding and wisdom. So they're very much associated with wisdom. So it's that we have to sort of plumb our depths to really look inside ourselves, and we can find those treasures in our own consciousness. We don't have to be continually looking outside for everything.
Yeah.
We spend most of our lives looking outside for whatever. So we've always been drawn away from that inner sense.
Yeah.
And that's it's in a sense it's a bit of a tragedy, really, because we've got everything.
Yeah.
Really, it's there, you know.
Yeah. We just have to stop and realise it, don't we? You know.
Stop and realise it. Stop, quieten down, and just have a look.
Or in other words, make the most of the lockdown.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, make the most of the lockdown. That's right. That's right.
There's your message for today.
This is an incredible, despite the tragedy of it for a lot of people, and I'm not, I'm unhappy about that, but it's still. For a lot of people, it's a great opportunity.
Yeah.
And we just don't see what an opportunity it is. We're pausing. We've got this great pause. We push the pause button for a bit. Look what's happening. The skies are clearing up. It's actually the earth is beginning to heal from our rampant greed already.
Mm.
Yeah. No,
and if only we could enough people could reflect on that and actually realise that actually we can do something about it.
Yeah.
I suppose Banty summed it up, didn't he? More and more of less and less.
yeah, more and more of less and less. What do we need? What do we really need? You know, the world abounds in beauty. If you haven't got consciousness, none of those goods and things that we have are of any use to us.
Yeah.
But we can actually live in magic every moment. You know, we can actually see the beauty of a leaf, the beauty of walk out and feel that breeze on your face, and you feel that breeze touching your face, and there's a beauty there. You know? It's just it's sort of like a re-enchantment of our minds. And I think that's I think we were actually in a great opportunity at the moment.
And I mean, for me, that we get that at Butterfield, you know, like when you're just in a field with a bunch of people and doing ritual, and it's like just kind of, you know, get away from all that tarmac and you know, it's it starts to be, life just becomes richer, doesn't it?
Well, we've just got too busy, you know. It's like all this busyness everywhere, and where is it actually going?
Yeah.
You know? What are we doing? What are we doing it for? It's kind of a madness. It's a modern madness.
It's you remember Trumper's words in that book? What was it? The myth of freedom. It's quite interesting. This idea that the idea is to have freedom, so you have more choice, right? And the myth of that then entraps you. You know, by having this freedom, you actually enslave yourself.
Well, it's not real freedom. It's illusory freedom.
Anyway, I'm saying that because I've moved while you've been talking. I'm up in the studio now. I'm just going to switch over. Is that all right?
Yeah.
It's good.
Oh, this is the studio.
Another studio.
It's a bit of a mess. I mean, there's a lot.
It's a bit more Francis Bacon, yours, isn't it? You know.
I thought mine was untidy.
But that's nothing. Look at this lot. So anyway, I thought I'll show you. When I've done the drawing, I then trace it. There's a part of the tracing the trees, and then that's put onto the canvas, and then I trace it on the pencil drawing onto the canvas, and then I use these felt tip pens in the colours, and they have to be ones that are actual paint, so that I can paint over them. But I do a line drawing, almost like painting by numbers, but of course it's my own painting. I paint everything out, and then I've got the whole thing ready to paint in, and that stops me going a bit potty. Anyway, look, I'm going to show you a section because, like I said, I'm going to go viral with this next month. But this is a set of a Naga princess.
Oh,
it's frozen again.
Thing of the water. This is the actual finished tanker. Okay, here we are. So there's a Naga Prince there. This is the water coming from the waterfall. Well, I'll go down a section. You got the this is a section of the tanker. You got the moon there, and the Himalayas coming down to the foothills, and the foothills come down with streams coming down with a chorten or stupa on the other side into a large lake. The lake comes down to a waterfall into these two pools either side of Padmapani with a lovely big blue chrysanthemum type lotus into this area here. Well, I call it lovely anyway. And then I've got this swirling motion I've tried to get. Now, this is where it differs from the Tibetan tankers, where they don't. And I've got this strange kind of light coming out from the water. Without going too much, this is actually part of the snake's body that goes right up and incorporates into 7 snakes that surround a halo. So, but I wanted to show you the water element because I wanted the water to be viscally kind of wet and warm and inviting. Hello?
Oh, hello. What's that?
Hello?
Oh, you're back.
Oh.
Sorry.
So this is not finished yet, but it gives you an idea of what I'm doing here. It's these lotuses here.
Yeah.
So there we have it. Hang on, that's me again. Yeah, I mean, I hope to have it finished next month. As I'm finishing it, I'm going slower and slower on it and looking at it more. But yes, I'm a little bit shocked that I realised I might have done it about 3 inches all round, a bit smaller. But don't worry, it'll be fine. It'll fit in with the other one.
Yeah. So is that what you're spending a lot of your time on at the moment?
Well, all my time on. I'm not doing any other painting.
Yeah.
I haven't had that much of a problem having a block with. Well, actually, that's not true. I had a bit of a block in December, January. But I went abroad, and when I came back, it cleared. So, but I did have that. But now I've got into it, and once I've finished the face now on Padmapani, which you can't see at the moment, it really encouraged me, and the halo. And so there are things I like to tell you about it rather than show you, because like I just said. So what I've got is this issue of the painting looking rather flat. So I decided to enhance the halo. So I've done it in a certain way by using special paints. For instance, well, I can show you here on this one again, on the here. Now these paints are very, very expensive paints. They pearl in them, but they create a lovely reflective area. And you don't get this on Tibetan tankers. They don't use this paint. They use mineral paint. And mineral paint's fantastic, but it's absolutely not very good for Buddha field. That original painting I showed you, the main tanker of Life of the Buddha, we had it up in the field, and it was pouring down with rain, and the water was coming along the poles on the inside of the tent and dripped down on the Buddha. And if you look closely on that tanker, there's an area where we mopped it up quickly, but it created a drip area. But this acrylic paint on this heavy-duty canvas, you could more or less submerge it in water and pull out and dry, and it wouldn't affect it, because acrylic is plastic. It's plastic paint. And the canvas is very strong. So it's just the stuff to use, the acrylic paint, the Buddha field. Yeah.
So you're going to be doing some fundraising to...
I'm useless at this stuff. I really am. I just can't do that. And also, I find it very difficult getting into publicising my own work. There's something I find slightly almost embarrassing about it. Do you have the same problem? Like, because I'm the great artist, one load of bollocks, pardon my language. I find it very difficult.
I think it's a common problem, is it, among artists, really? So I don't quite know. Before, you see, at Buddha Field, we used to have a bucket, last 2 or 3 times. But no Buddha Field this year, I don't think. Although they might have one in September, but I don't think that might, not with social distancing. So I'm not quite sure what's going to happen this year. So I'm hoping to fundraise. But I thought the best way of fundraising would be to show the tanker fully as it is, and an explanation, get somebody like, maybe, I don't know, some guy to fundraise for me, set up a standing order or something, so I can buy all these paints. Are really expensive. Padma, if you give me your bank details, I could put a link underneath this video for donations, if you want.
Oh yeah, but they haven't seen the tanker yet.
No, but they've seen the process, haven't they? They've seen you, and
Yeah, Okay, yeah, well, I'll do that, yeah.
Okay,
All right,
I will do that.
okay.
Yeah. All right.
So contact me after and I'll send you something.
Okay.
But anyway, that I just wanted to say that in relationship what I said yesterday, that because you mentioned about the Tibetan thing and would they mind. The reason why I do this imagery is because I've got to go downstairs. It's because I wanted to show you something just before we finish.
Yeah.
And it won't take long. That the reason why we did the stupa and why I've done the tankas in the Tibetan method is it's a great starting point. As an example, here we are. This is an image from a tanka book. Here, you can see the Buddha's head. Can you see that?
Yeah. Go on. Carry on.
But it's all in proportions, and here we have the stupa in proportion with a human body. Oh, sorry, that's the light of the.
Yeah.
So we have the stupa here.
Yeah.
Which moving along, but you've got a human body, the Buddha superimposed on it, and it's all represented by the elements. You know, this is the earth element, the lower bit. The big dome there is the water element. Fire
Yeah. What's your point?
Well, the point is that there's a method in the madness of doing something, copying the idea from a structure which actually works, rather than having the individual do their own individualized form. Which is always rather a risky affair, but although it's personal to the artist, when it's becoming an object of veneration, I think you have to be more careful. So that's why I'm
so people are not worshipping.
I'm doing this. The way I'm doing it.
So people are not worshipping somebody's taste or something like that, you know.
Exactly. And for instance, I was thinking, well, okay, Aloka, he hasn't done the Tibetan stuff, but if you look at his work, it is iconic.
It is. Yeah.
It's two-dimensional, but it's based on almost like a Christian icon base, you know, which is like flat and it is proportional.
Yeah.
And once again, he is following the same kind of structured rules.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just wanted to say that. So it's an important area.
So that's
it.
Okay, that's So we've gone to like over 2 hours there.
Blimey.
That's brilliant, you know.
But we lost a few people on the way.
We have, but it doesn't matter because they'll all watch later on. Really, you know, it's how it happens. Yeah. Go on, Papa.
Watch it in instalments.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So we've had a fantastic tour of both your studios and your work, and also just like that, it's great to connect with the Hillman and archetypal psychology and the idea of the naga and the rainbow. Was it the snake in what's it called? The rainbow in Australia.
The rainbow serpent.
Rainbow serpent. Yeah. And the idea that underneath it, in a way, Padmasambha's sitting by the lake. He's waiting for something to happen, and the lake is saying no, not yet. You know, you have to wait longer. So it's like, you know, it's sort of telling us that we need. Sometimes we're not in charge. We aren't in charge. You know, and you know,
I think
reality's in charge, and this is what a lot of this is about. You know,
Yes. Just finishing off on that bit about the imagery of the Nagas and the depths. Often it's disputed, but in this tanka I have the other Naga princess on the other side of Padmapani is holding out the jewel. Now, I did a bit of research on this, and apparently the jewel can be seen as the wish-fulfilling jewel, the Chintamani. It's also the same jewel that Avalokitesvara holds in his hand in the sadhana practice of Avalokitesvara. So the jewel that the Naga princess in my tanka is offering to the Pranya Paramita is no other than the Bodhicitta.
Yeah. So, which is the wish for all beings to be enlightened, isn't it?
Yeah, but the interesting thing is the Bodhicitta resides right at the heart of what the Nagas guard, which is in modern psychological terms, the depths of the unconscious.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
The idea of getting enlightened with your ego mind is an impossible task.
No, yeah, yeah. Well, it's got to be coming, it's got to be an enlightenment at the depths, hasn't it? That's the thing.
Yeah. And also traversing that difficult area, of what we're called madness,
Yeah.
Anyway, there you go.
There you go.
There you go.
Boom.
You don't have to be mad in that sense. You can just come to Buddhafield.
Okay, great. Well, thanks both of you. It's been brilliant. Yeah. Okay.
It's been great. Thanks.
Yeah,
thanks for putting it on.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
All the best.
It's been good sitting around the campfire together again.
Yeah. It has, yeah. This is how we do it now, Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. See ya.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.